Hello and welcome to the Free Cheese, episode 362. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Matt Sellner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. This week, we've got our first impressions of Fall Guys, a talk about Project xCloud leaving beta and joining Game Pass Ultimate, and we learned tentatively about Rocksteady's brand new superhero video game. All of that later. But first, good morning, Matt. Good evening, Matt. How are you, Matt?
That's swell.
Swell?
Yeah.
Is that because it's hot as hell out and you're getting your swell out?
No, I haven't even peeked outside yet. I haven't even opened the blinds today. So, I don't even know what that looks like. We'll be on the boat later today, so I'll be enjoying it then.
I could tell you it sucks outside.
Nah, that's subjective.
Look, man, we're mid-August. I'm in my full boycott mode now. I'm wearing
Mid-August?
flannels
You just
all
started.
week long. No. It's like, what's today? The 10th or something?
Oh,
Yeah.
well, yeah, breaking kayfabe.
Yeah. No, I'm full boycott. I'm over this shit. I made a pumpkin pie this week. We're done.
All right, I will say, I did have
there
an
it
entire six-pack of Oktoberfest, but then the next day felt so bad that I don't want to do that anytime soon again, so...
How do you know? I remember years and years ago, I went to a liquor store after work. This is when I was a pizza boy. I went to a liquor store after work. That sounds really bad. I wanted some beer. And I was like, ooh, they've got Christmas beer. And it was like, I don't remember when it was, but it was like unseasonably Christmas beer. Bought it, took it home. It was fine drinking it. You don't notice until after. But then I read the labels. It was last year's Christmas beer that now that we've gotten close enough to next Christmas, they've rotated it back out from their stock sitting in the back. Do you think that there's a possibility that that's what you experienced?
Because I forgot to check.
Say it again?
It very well could have been, because I did not check. And Sam Adams usually does really good with little notches on the side, too. They make it real easy to see.
Bother to pay attention to the notch.
No, I didn't.
That's what I'm saying.
I also had a lot to drink that night, so that could have been...
Well, that'll do it. That'll do it. How's your week otherwise?
Great. You know?
Fun stories from around the way, from around the bend? Anything interesting going on?
Not really. It's just because you're just stuck inside all the time.
Yeah. That kind of... Like, I feel like I'm thriving in ways.
Oh, I know
but
you
in other
are.
ways...
You didn't have to say it. I just know you are.
There's parts that I don't realize. I almost had to buy a new TV this week. Because I went through it. Because I had a one-man mosh pit party down here. I was midday...
Drinking too much Faygo?
I wasn't drinking shit. Alright, that was the day I had the new Coca-Cola products I was sent in the mail.
Oh, no.
So maybe I was a little turnt. But I was just listening to stuff, and I was like, man, I miss being at concerts. And I just got way into it, and then fucking tripped, fell on the switch, knocked it out of the dock, knocked the dock over, knocked the TV back into the wall. I was like, oh my God. All right. I'm 31. So there was that point where I was like, maybe quarantine has affected me. You know, like maybe this whole shelter in place thing is like, yeah, maybe I do need some human contact. So I'm going to leave the house today. I know that. I don't know. I know I have to go to my mom's, so I'm doing that much. But other than that, I don't know. I might go to the forest, just hang out. I don't know. What's a place where it has no people? I did get those Coca-Cola products, though, Matt. That special surprise insiders box.
Yes.
Dude, all right, so they sent me, listeners, as you longtime listeners know, we get the special Coca-Cola Insiders box from the Insiders Club, but it got canceled midway through because shipping delays and whatever. They send out this surprise box, no charge to me, and say, hey, we're excited, here you go. Open it up. Hey, here's 2 products that are not going to be available until 2021. Enjoy. They sent me, Matt, Coca-Cola Coffee will be the name of it. There's 3 varieties coming. They sent me 2 of the 3. I got dark blend and vanilla, and then caramel will be the third one when it comes out. I had the dark blend. Katie had the vanilla, but I sampled the vanilla. Ask me anything.
Is it vanilla Coke?
So the vanilla one very much is vanilla Coke, and then you're kind of like, is that coffee? You know what I mean? Like
right.
It's very much vanilla Coke. But that is the one, admittedly, I only had a sip of, and I sipped it after already sipping the dark blend. Mm-hmm. So my mouth may have been tainted. I got a tainted mouth over here. The dark blend, I'm going to walk you through this whole experience. Okay. Mouth and everything. Like, I'm going to take you inside my mouth. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
You take the sip, and as you're sipping, you smell mild coffee tones. Like a good coffee tone.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Kind of like, if you ever had like those smelly markers that smelled like fruits and stuff, if they made one of those that was a really good coffee smell, that's kind of what I'm getting on the way back. It hits your tongue, and you're like, I'm sipping on a Coke right now. But it's not as bubbly as a regular Coke, so it feels like a Coke that started to go flat, but not in a way that offends you.
Okay.
Then as it passes over the mid-tongue, over back down to the throat, all coffee, baby. All coffee. This is a good coffee taste, too.
I'm happy about this. I'm very happy about this.
I'm sold on this a lot.
Are they putting this into the Coke Energy line, or is this like its own thing?
It didn't say anything about energy. It just said Coke coffee. And this is apparently something that is available in other territories, just like Coke Energy was, because Coke Energy was in like the Netherlands and I think the UK and Japan before here. I think this is also in a couple of those territories, like Australia maybe, or something like that. And now making its way here. So yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I was surprised to get the box in the first place, but then to try it out, I was like, ooh, this is pretty sick. Then I rushed out and bought more Coke Energy. I had to go to I haven't been able to find Coke Energy in like a month. So I went to a different store that found 3 cans. But Matt, this is not just a Coca-Cola podcast. This week we had another State of Play, but not the one you expected.
No.
This is all about PS4, PSVR, with a little taste of PlayStation 5. What stood out to you? I think I've got my hits across the board, Spelunky 2, but I feel like there was some good stuff. There was good stuff in here. Put it this way. Let me not put it that way. Matt, what were your expectations for this?
Very low. Almost to the point where I almost didn't watch it. But, here I am. I watched it.
So then, knowing that, like, I feel like, because I too, once they said it was PS4 stuff, I was like, all right. I kind of knew it was going to be a handful of indie games and, like, maybe one game that we kind of didn't. Okay, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think they had decent announcements, but what stood out to you?
A few things kind of stand out from it, right? One, talking about Crash, great. I like the idea of the mirror mode. I didn't get to see the gameplay of it. I was actually in my car at the very start of this. I didn't get in until like right after the Hitman thing. Yeah, like whenever you do this reverse thing, I always think of like mirror mode and Mario Kart and what that kind of added. So like I'm very excited to see what they can do with that.
I think what they did with the colors there too were interesting. Like, you should go back and watch it. They did. It was funny. Mark and I were watching this together, and they called out the fact that they worked with Beanox to put in this like new, kind of like drawing mode. The way that they would like generate the art assets. And it made me curious because Beanox used to make video games, but now they're just a support studio within Activision, it seems. So I wonder how this technology ends up in other Activision titles down the line, or if it does at all, or if it's just for this or whatever. But the one, though, that they were kind of like talking, I think the inverted mode, Mark and I were both like, Mark said it, and I was like, yeah, it's just a Photoshop filter. Like, it's more than that, but like what they're doing is... it's something that I've definitely, like, the art style looked very familiar from, like, working in those, like, digital spaces like that. So And it looked cool, but they were touting it a little bit heavier than I think it was. But it was neat.
I'm just happy that this game is actually like getting a bunch of time on a stage or on in an event. Like, it makes me feel better about this game. It wasn't something that's like an afterthought off the success of Insane Trilogy. So I'm just like happy that it's being presented in a way. It's like, hey, look what's new. Hey, this is what we're doing. Hey, it's coming soon. All that stuff. So.
And I think it looked really good in motion too.
I'm hyped for Crash. Like, this is probably the most I've been hyped for Crash since its announcement.
Yeah.
And we're so close.
No, seeing that in motion, I was like, oh, I actually want to play this game. Because the Insane Trilogy was cool, but revisiting it, I was like, oh, I did this a long time ago. Like, it didn't feel like something I wanted to go back to. And seeing this, I was like, immediately like, oh my God, they did it. Like, they did the thing. They made it. It's exciting.
Auto chess on consoles is still blowing my mind. Wasn't this at Xbox's thing too?
I don't remember auto chess. Look, that was one of those moments where, especially watching with somebody else and you just are talking about whatever, when it popped up, like, it was like halfway through whatever that segment was, and I was like, oh, right, and Mark was like, oh, I forgot we were watching a thing. Like, we both completely tuned out because auto chess was on the screen. Just gone. But yeah, I don't know if it was at Xbox. It may have been at everything. It may have been the entire season 2 of Doom Patrol. Couldn't tell you.
I can't remember if it was at Xbox or not, but like, just the game on console, I just don't know if that's gonna work. Like, it's so frantic, mouse and keyboard and with touch controls, that like, I can't imagine trying to navigate all those different menus and stuff with a controller. So that's gonna be an interesting challenge. On how they map controls for, I guess, like, different, like, boards could be mapped to triggers and buttons and things like that. But I'm very curious more so about how they do the control scheme more so than the game itself.
Well, I can try and play auto chess with the Steam controller and kind of report back if you.
Christ.
Or I can, you know what? I am leaving the house today. Why don't I just drop the Steam controller off to you? You can borrow it for the afternoon. Skip the boat party and hang out and play some auto chess with a. Do you care about auto chess coming to console, or like, where's auto chess at? What's up with auto chess?
I just like I like peeking at it. I still follow the Underlord subreddit, not so much the regular auto chess anymore. But like, the thing is, it's still so like rapidly. I feel like it's still like rapidly evolving, where I can't like. If I don't stay in it, I get left behind. And not like Dota does changes, but like, I feel like if I popped in, maybe watched a video or two and just like the state, or even like a match or two from like an esports like broadcast, like, I can get back into it, right? I feel like auto chess is still rapidly changing too much. Where if I was to get back invested now, and I was like, maybe next week, I would kind of already be behind of what I learned again, almost. Yeah. So I'm kind of waiting. The community's waiting for a season 2 to kind of drop. I'm gonna maybe peek in around there to see if they've kind of cemented on something a little bit more focused. So yeah, anyway, I still like the idea of it. I really do like that whole game mode. I like that it's like it's so frantic for 30 to 40 seconds, and then like you're just watching for 3 minutes and you get to drink your coffee or whatever. It's like the perfect coffee game, as you described, that the Motorsport Manager thing, where
I'm happy to have coined that term. I don't know if I did, but
whatever.
You keep giving me credit for it, so I'm gonna keep taking it.
But yeah, it's perfect. It's a perfect one of those. So yeah, I'll stay tuned. But I'm never going to play on the console. I'm just going to say that right now. I'm just very curious to see how they map the whole DUI and stuff, because it gets frantic for that 30 seconds. And then I'm happy to see a release date for the AWE expansion of Control.
Yeah, that kind of falls right on the 1-year anniversary of Control.
I mean,
and that is for every console. That was the one thing that I was confused about at first, because PlayStation had that exclusivity window on DLC, but that's all gone. This is out for everyone at the same time.
I wonder if that's why it's like at the 1-year mark.
Probably. That way everybody could hit it, because I think a lot of people were upset that happened.
Yeah, I mean, that game has its problems when it comes to lore and story beats, so I'm curious about how they address the obvious thing in the room here. But yeah, so that was exciting. We got that. And then this sneaky like new game that caught my attention, and it's like such a me puzzle game, is To Pedestrian. I don't know why.
Yeah, dude.
It looks like something that I would end up falling in love with. It seems simple enough, yet could be very confusing, or like complicated enough to challenge yourself as you're progressing through these levels. So I might peek at that too when that comes around.
Yeah, that looked like a cool Flash game. Like, and I don't mean that. Like, I'm not saying that in a reductive way. I mean, like, I feel like Flash games had a lot of innovation, a lot of creativity behind them, where it was just like, what if I made a game out of signposts? Like, you know what I mean? I think that had that kind of feel to it, of just like, what if I did this and someone did it and they made a whole game out of it, and I think it looks neat. I've seen it played before because they've been working on that for a little while. It's a neat looking game. I thought that Anno Mutationum looked kind of neat. At times, it's weird. Like, a couple of the games like looked really cool, and then like they changed camera angle and they didn't look so cool. Were you getting that vibe at all, or was that just?
I didn't know that was the name of the game when they first showed it. I thought that was
I only knew that after I looked it up in the blog post after the fact.
So they flashed it like within the first 5 seconds of the trailer. I was like, oh, that's a weird mechanic. That's a weird name for a mechanic or something. And then it just
and there's that other weird game called Anno 1894 or whatever the heck. That's like the real time strategy game or something.
Like the Civ, not Civ, but like SimCity kind of thing like that. Yeah.
But I thought that one looked neat. Obviously, Spelunky 2, September 15th.
I think Spelunky 2 showed well here too, as well. Yeah, it showed. Yeah. It showed well at this thing.
It's good to see that game finally coming out. I think that was announced in 2016, and so it's been a little bit. And then Derek, you said that it'll be on PC a little bit after they're trying to figure out multiplayer on PC or iron out some of the kinks there. But that is like day one, ready to go. Can't wait for Spelunky 2. And I think the neat thing that he pointed out in his voiceover talking about the game is how much that game grows past its creator, right? Like they put it out and like so much of what makes Spelunky special is what the community finds within it. There's obviously things that they've hidden in there, but so many of the cool moments and like that, the stories that get told are the things that happen because of just the nature of what Spelunky is. So that obviously that was going to be a highlight. I thought Hitman. I
was gonna say with Spelunky, I also love that like with a game that's very randomly generated and these runs can go like from anywhere. That he like looked at like the most common run set and was like, let's blow that up. So like I can't wait to see the run variety that you can do in this game. And even he said like he's playing it and is still figuring new things out. And that's insane that the game director is still figuring out new things about his game. So that's nuts.
Yeah, and you get a sense of that. I read his book about Spelunky, and hearing how he made that game, you kind of get a little insight into how the pieces, like, they all fit together, but there's still so much chance with all of it. But I mean, yeah, there's a weekly Spelunky podcast hosted by a bunch of game creators. It's a really good podcast. The Spelunky Show, like, is what it's called, if anyone wants to check it out. But that one, they talk about game design, they talk about stuff, but like they talk about playing Spelunky a bunch. Like it's, and then Hitman 3 PSVR support. I did the thing seeing this trailer where I opened up a PlayStation.com tab, looked to see if I could buy a PSVR for under, really for me, I want to spend $100 and just get the headset. Because I don't need anything else. I've got the camera that I bought in 2013. I got the Move controllers that I bought on clearance at Walmart in 2011. Like, I've got everything ready to go. Just don't have the headset. But you can only buy it in a bundle, complete with every single dumb thing, peripheral, and a copy of Iron Man VR for $350, which I'm good, dude. Yeah, you can play all of Hitman 3 in PSVR. Which is cool. But they didn't really explain if it was... We were looking at it, and it looked like you were kind of moving fluidly. So it seemed like you were playing with a controller. But I felt like it would be neat if you were like walking up behind somebody and you had the Move controllers and you were actually doing the motions of snuffing somebody out manhunt style.
Oh, man. There's a senator that's sniffing this out somewhere.
Yeah. Someone's got eyes on it.
Yeah, just imagine the actual motion of throwing the hammer.
That's what I'm saying, dude. I need that move controller. That was State of Play in a nutshell. I still kind of hope we see more PS5 stuff before launch, because that... But honestly, I don't even know... What else do we see at this point? If there's not going to be any new... Like, I'm sure they might pepper out a couple game announcements just to excite. But I think the big thing now is just how much and when, right?
Yeah, and then, like, when you think this was just such a weird spot to put the State of Play, but I guess they needed to do it. It was just like, what... I think... we're just two people, but I have a feeling a lot of people let out that sigh of a groan when they heard this was just PS4, and thank God PlayStation came out and said that, because that would have been a PR nightmare. They didn't.
Yeah, they had to get ahead of that.
It's like, what could they have announced here to like make this conference more so than this isn't the PS5 one? I mean, for me personally, I think it would have been really cool to go back and just say, like, hey, The Last of Us Part 2 is out. Hey, Ghost of Tsushima is out. And, oh, hey, by the way, at holiday or in early 2021, these games are getting a PS5 patch if you're going to, miss them now or whatever. I feel like that promotes PS5 maybe a little bit too much, but I feel like that's something that would have been like, hey, these are games that we appreciate right now and are doing very well for us, and we want you to play, but we're also, like, it could have been the one time where Sony would have been like, you know what, we're on your side, play it whenever you want to. But, no.
Yeah, but I feel like, I still don't know if that's a big enough lift, right? Because you played both of those games, right? Or you're playing Ghost still, but,
yeah,
like... So for you who've played that, does that excite you to hear that they would be coming to PS5 with a beefed up whatever version? And then for someone who hasn't played them, then are they compelled to buy them now or wait or whatever?
Honestly, I mean, The Last of Us Part 2, we're late on the party with that one. I'm gone, I beat that, and I don't know if I'll ever play that game again just because of my sentimental value with that, just like the first one. But like, with Ghost of Tsushima, I'm still early. Like, newsflash, I did not play it at all this week.
Yeah.
So, like, if they said, oh, this is coming to PS5 and it's going to look better, I at that point would be like, I might just wait because I'm going to need things to play on my PlayStation 5 when that time comes.
That's fair. I think, I mean, when things are ready, they're ready, so that, you can't really force anything like that. But I think, had they done like another look at Miles Morales or...
Yeah, because we don't have gameplay on that.
Yeah, like just a little something may have... But maybe that means that what they're trying to do is like continue to put the PS4 to bed a little bit in ways that they can, and then really save the PS5 stuff for when they have a good nugget worth talking about.
Yeah, I mean, we always talk about the swan songs of generations, and I mean, the PlayStation's pretty much been known for having those swan songs. Like, PS2 had God of War. But I think
they had them, right?
Huh?
They had them.
Yeah, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, God of War 2 was at the very end of PS2. Last of Us, right before the release of the PS4. Like, they usually end strong, and I think they ended strong again with The Last of Us Part 2. And what I've played of Ghost of Tsushima, I think that's a strong game, but like... Yeah, I think they can still put out like another nugget or something, maybe, or like, have another third-party release exclusively, or some kind of second-party title that can just sew it all together, get them through holiday with the PS4.
Yeah, I don't. This is a weird year.
It is.
I mean,
these are always weird years. Launch years are always weird.
Yeah,
and the one afterwards too, because you still have games that are PS, last what would then be last gen, and then is now current gen as well, and then what are the features that are missing? I always go back to Shadow of Mordor. Like, I feel bad for ever play that on the previous generation because they missed out on the absolute best part of that game. Like, that's not even the same game.
I wonder how that changes this time around, since these consoles are backwards compatible in a way that PS4 and Xbox One were not with the 360 and PS3.
Yeah.
Because there was a hard cutoff for both of those. Like, Xbox One did add backwards compatibility, but that was later on. Like, they didn't do that from
Yeah,
the
that
jump.
wasn't on the hardware. They were doing something weird with emulation, obviously.
Yeah, and that was a few years after launch that all that stuff started to come out. So, and then PS4, obviously, Jim Ryan just laughs at everyone. Speaking of laughing at everyone, there was another blog post that happened kind of right after the announcement of the State of Play happening that showed off which peripherals are compatible from PS4 to PS5. Takeaway I got is that everything works on PS5 except the DualShock 4 will not work on PS5 games. You'll be able to use it to play PS4 games on PS5, but not PS5 games. And then the headset companion app for wireless headsets. If you have one of those gold wireless headsets, the app itself that like lets you custom tweak sound settings and things like that, or set up those sound profiles. Because for a while Sony was doing, I don't know if they still do, but they were doing like custom sound profiles per game. A lot of it was like first party stuff where it was like, here's what the sound designers from Naughty Dog think you should do to play The Last of Us.
Is Mark Cerny still taking pictures of ears?
I think that's why they're discontinuing the companion app, because they've got all the ear data they need, and they don't need any of that. They do need Spider-Man in Avengers, and that's why they paid for exclusivity for him. We also found out this week that Spider-Man is being added to the roster of Marvel's Avengers from Crystal Dynamics in early 2021 as part of an in-universe event. This is exclusive to PlayStation, and there's no mention of timed exclusivity in that press release that I could find. The one thing that stood out to me, though, from the announcement, this came from the PlayStation blog. I'm just going to read the quote here. It says, "It's not enough for Spider-Man to just play like he should. He also needs to look like he should. That's why when going through the process of conceptualizing his suit, we went back to the beginning. Steve Ditko set the standard with his Spider-Man design, and John Romita Sr. evolved it into an icon recognized the world over. Fans can expect to see Ditko and Romita's influence in our take on the hero, with nods to other talented artists that have defined the character's look over his long history." I think that we fairly gave this game a lot of flack for a lot of things since we started to see it just over a year ago. But the one thing that I have not considered is that level of detail. And then I went back through and I was looking at how they announced Hawkeye recently, how they've shown off the other characters, and they really do care about these characters at Crystal Dynamics. You can see the attention to detail and all of those things. The game aside, what the game loop is going to be and the grind for loot and all that stuff, whatever. But I think that what they're doing in terms of like making the characters come to life in a new way is really interesting. And then I am curious to see how Spider-Man looks in game. Like it is always neat, like looking at what they look at as direct influence and how they adapt that into their own art style and things. So that's intriguing. I think that the exclusivity stuff, whatever. I think it sucks.
I mean, it is what it is. I'm like, I recently was watching a video about Street Fighter V and about how like their development with how they had to kind of scrap everything, and then like they spent all this money, and then Sony kind of came in and was like, well, hey, look, if you guys go exclusive, we'll help pay. So like It made sense for them to take that deal. I wonder if like they ran into development issues here and Sony kind of did the same thing of like, well, hey, like we'll give you Spider-Man exclusive to us if for a paycheck. I don't know, like shit like that happens.
Yeah, I don't know if it was developed. I mean, maybe that game's been in development for a long time. I don't know. I don't think we'll know the answer to that one. But yeah. Additionally, this week in terms of hardware, that Analog Pocket went on sale, kind of. This for those who don't remember what this is. This was previously my most anticipated video game console of 2020. It's shaped like a Game Boy Pocket, but made by Analog, the folks behind all the FPGA consoles. This thing's $200. They announced pre-orders on I don't remember what days now. The 3rd? Who cares? I think it was going to go live a week before they announced. They announced on the 27th that on August 3rd it was going to go live at 11 a.m. I was like super stoked to get one, and then somewhere through the week I was like, do I really need to spend $200 on this thing that I'm going to use a couple times and then let it sit in a whatever? So then at like noon I was like, oh, I wonder if that's sold out. And I looked and it was all sold out, and I was like, oh wow, all right, yeah, that makes sense. An hour went by, but apparently it's a little bit faster than an hour. Some reporting as fast as 10 minutes, others about 15 minutes. It looks like it's sold out, and a lot of people stuck in a shipping cost calculation loop on the Shopify, I think it was Shopify website, taking payment. And by the time some people reported like sitting and waiting for everything to calculate shipping for up to 7 minutes. And by the time their thing actually loaded, the device was sold out. Analog has promised another run that will be available for purchase, but nothing yet. But when I looked, every single peripheral was gone. Every last cable, adapter, anything that you could sell was sold. Which, I mean, I guess that's cool that there's interest in FPGA hardware and in this device. I'm curious to see the tail of this, because Analog does not typically keep a heavy stock of its products. They kind of do a few select runs and that's it. Although I think like the SG, the Sega one, and the Super NT, the SNES one, I think they've kept them in pretty regular stock for some of the models, not all. Like some of them, the like special like single color units and things like that are gone. But so I don't know if this becomes something that at some point you could just kind of order anyway, or if they are going to keep this pretty limited.
Yeah, I mean, they came out and said about the COVID and being able to find their, get suppliers and all this stuff. So I'm sure they were disappointed in the amount that for how long they were able to keep up the pre-order, or keep available units. But that's the other thing. Like as long as you're staying kind of committed to making sure like everyone who wants one gets one kind of thing, and they do enough runs of it, I think it would be fine in the end. It's just, that's what the culture is now. Things go in pre-order and they sell out real quick. That's just the name of the game, and I don't know why. Like, I understand being upset about it, but like you don't need to, get butthurt about it either.
Well, I think the other side of it too, though, if this ends up like a pair of Jordans, it's a different story, right? Is this going to be a pair of Jordans, or is this going to be the Wii, right? Because eventually you could get a Wii.
Yeah.
But certain of those shoes, when they're gone, they're gone. So I don't know how that'll go, but they seem to have promised at least another run. So, Matt, we have a new segment this week.
Boy.
This segment is called Name 3 Things. Are you ready?
All right.
I want you to name 3 things that are not Call of Duty. Go. Go.
Siphon filter, go. Guinness.
Go. Go.
Mac.
Go. All right, there it is.
I don't know why
Listeners,
siphon filter was on
things. Hey, whatever. Isn't siphon filter always on the mind? Listeners, you've just heard 3 things that are not Call of Duty, but now you're about to hear more than 3 things that are Call of Duty. Not only was there a new patch this week, there's been some news stories surrounding Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Call of Duty Warzone. There's apparently a new battle pass. Don't know if you knew about that. And I believe Matt played some Call of Duty Warzone. So, Matt, real quick, let's do this way.
Okay.
Close out because the week in the midweek, or not even early week, is when all that kind of stuff happened. But prior to that, you had played more of the game. So walk me through the end of the season. We'll talk about what's changed, and then walk me through where we're at now. How did everything wrap up for you?
It wrapped up fine. I was just, they didn't really change anything that last week. They just added a double XP for like everything, because there's different.
But you were on the grind.
Yeah, I was grinded. Like the thing was, like, the original thing this week, or kind of going to last week, was like just get to the point where I kind of got enough COD points to get the premium currency to get the new battle pass for free. And then I was like, I'm really getting levels here, man. Like, why don't I just go to the tier that has the last COD point thing? And I realized I was at like 96. So then I was just like, well, I'm already here. And it probably would only take about like 10 more decent Warzone games, which, when you think about it, decent Warzone games go about at least 15 minutes. So, and then before you know it, you just don't know what time of day it is anymore.
So, you finished the Battle Pass.
Yes, I did.
Was it worth it?
No, probably, but, you know.
Okay.
It's one of those things where I would have been more pissed if I didn't complete it and I was like 4 levels short than I would have been if I was like 20 levels short.
So, like, I remember when I was chasing the Platinum Trophy for Bioshock 2, and I had to get to level 40 in multiplayer. Yeah, I know. But that was a grind. And to the point where, like, you just become numb after a while. Like, you don't know where you are or who you are or what's going on. You've kind of left time and space entirely. Is that kind of where you ended up?
No, not at all. Like, keep in mind, like, I never, like, didn't play with people. It was only, like, the last day. I needed, like, 2 more games. I realized, like, it said the pass was going to reset. And it was like the countdown was at 0, but the double XP was still going for 6 hours. And then when you read, it said the patch was going live like that next day at 2 a.m. So I was like, oh, I wonder if it can let me keep going. And it did. So like that day, I was just like, I'm going to wrap it up. And I played a few solo games. But other than that, like the ride this past week, like everything in Warzone that I was doing, like the bulk of my playtime was with people. And then, like I said, that's where kind of like the whole BR genre really is. Like, if I'm playing with people, like, I will stay in, like, just because, like, every game, you could drop the same location and do the same gameplay, but, like, if you get bored, like, you just go to a different location. Oh, and then, like, also, like, the circles influence where you go as well. So, like, every game is still fresh, even though it's the same thing over and over. Like, you might drop down and you might not find a weapon in the first 2 buildings you're in. You're like, oh, fuck, this is a little hot and I got nothing to play with. And you're just kind of going around running. Or, like, you drop down and you get, like, your favorite weapon. That's a common, a common drop. And then you just start going ham in the area you're in. Or you go to this little remote location and you just scavenge and try to get money for it. Like, it changes every time. And there's just something where like I can play it for like 10 hours straight or, however long it took me to get it. Like it still is fun as long as I'm playing with people.
Go ahead. I saw you were on quite a bit.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, he's really playing some Call of Duty. So
I'm reliving college, man. It's a good life.
I get it. I was reliving high school this week, bouncing around in the basement. So, the patch hits this week. It's a big update, but it does shrink the overall install size on PC and console. But even though it shrinks everything, you sent me a picture. What is the actual install size sitting at?
The folder that lives in the BattleNet for Call of Duty Modern Warfare is sized at 231 gigabytes.
Moving on. During a call, Activision confirmed that Warzone now has over 75 million players, that Modern Warfare's sales during Q2 of 2020 were the highest for a premium Call of Duty outside of launch window. And between April and June 2020, $1.37 billion in revenue came from microtransactions in Call of Duty. This is 5 times higher than Call of Duty in-game sales compared to Q2 2019. So they're doing all right, it seems. And in fact, they said that they kind of answered one of our questions that we'd brought up a few times, which is, where does Warzone fit in this? What happens when Black Ops Doritos comes out? What does that look like? And there was confirmation via the design director, Jeff Smith, who says the game will become tied to other games in the Call of Duty universe and that it was designed from the beginning as its own game. So it seems very much like how... I mean, I don't know how intentional this was. I assume maybe with some intention, but in the same way that kind of Apex is the free-to-play entry point into the Titanfall universe in different ways, right? Like, obviously, in a much more concentrated area, Call of Duty is I think just a larger beast just by the nature of its history. But, in the same way that Titanfall and Titanfall 2 then bled into Apex Legends, and then there's, theoretically other things coming for that universe down the line. It seems like that's kind of where they want Warzone to fall into.
I'm curious, like, when the new Call of Duty comes out, like, what does that look like for Warzone? Is it still going to be in the Modern Warfare launcher, or are they going to shift it to the Black Ops launcher? Like, that's something we have to kind of think about right there, because, when you open up Modern Warfare, you have your panels. And I'm assuming if you just have Warzone, like, the Warzone panel is the only one that's available and the other ones are locked. And it probably shows them as being locked and it says to purchase or whatever. So, like, this weekend is the perfect example. It's probably going to be done by the time this goes up. But they're doing, like, free multiplayer for those that have, or, that don't have the game but are playing Warzone. And, like, in the Warzone, like, panel, like, when you go into it, it has the playlist right there for free multiplayer. So, like, I wonder, does it stay in that launcher, or does it move to Black Ops and they do that thing with Black Ops where it's like, hey, free Black Ops multiplayer, and then that entices you to buy that one? Or how are the weapons going to change when Black Ops comes out? Like, do they switch the whole palette? Like, there's some interesting design decisions you're going to have to think about here.
I think, and I have thought about it, Matt, and here I have your solutions for you. So, I think that what needs to happen is all of it. I think they need to keep Warzone linked to Modern Warfare and also link it to Black Ops, so that when someone is playing, because they can't shut down Modern Warfare, right? You need to keep that train rolling. So someone who's playing Warzone needs to be able to easily jump to Modern Warfare or to Black Ops. I think that Warzone needs to become its own launcher in a way. Like, they need to spin that out to its own client, just if only for the sake of reducing file size. I think that's super important, but I think that also helps it to bridge the gap between games and become its own standalone thing. I think that launching within Modern Warfare probably, put the tent poles underneath of both Modern Warfare and Warzone and helped, is mutually beneficial. But I think they need to add that third bit if they're going to keep the momentum with Black Ops Doritos this fall. So this new season, this is season 5. We see there's expansions to Warzone. There's expansions to Modern Warfare. I'm going to do the Modern Warfare stuff first because I feel like that's the one you've played the less of. But largely, there's 4 new maps being added. And this is, of course, all of the maps in this game are free. So they've added 4 new maps. There's new game modes. Bare Bones was one of them. Search and Destroy Double Down was another one, which you were just talking about wanting Search and Destroy to come back, right? Is that what it was last week?
No, it was Sabotage. Search and Destroy has been a staple.
I knew it had an S in it.
I did not play Bare Bones or Search and Destroy Double Down, but Search and Destroy Double Down is just, I think it's 12v12 now instead of 6v6, which is like your typical, it's like your Counter-Strike kind of elimination-based, round-based kind of thing. You plant the bomb, you have to defend the sites, that kind of thing. Bare Bones takes away perks, and I don't know if it takes away loadouts as well, but it definitely takes away the perks and I think kill streaks, which makes them a bare bones multiplayer Modern Warfare game. The one map for Ground War, which is their big battlefield mode, is just the Verdansk airport. So if you played Warzone, you probably have seen the map. It's just, they've done that a bunch for Ground War. They've taken sections, like huge sections of Warzone or Verdansk, and just made them their own maps. So like it's a new map for that mode, but we've seen it before. Gunfight is that 2v2 mode. I do not play a lot of that. Actually, I haven't really played any of it. So I don't know how that map looks, but they're usually typically a lot smaller. I think they 4v4 Halo size. And then the new ones, I did play on them. There is a playlist that just has them exclusively. But the oil rig is better than the other one. I can't remember the name of the other one now. We have it somewhere. Oh, the
Soldal Harbor?
Oh, yeah, the Harbor, yeah. Not that great. Yeah, like I said, I only played on the harbor like twice, but the 3 times I played on oil rig, I was just enjoying the flow of it. I hate when maps have like these just sections that are dead ends, because all it does is just encourage camping, and like I feel like the harbor had at least like one of them, if not two, just areas just like it was dead. Like it was just like nothing was over there. So I don't know what the point of that was. But yeah, no, it's there. The multiplayer is still going, but I feel like anyone you talk to that's actively playing this game a lot is using multiplayer as the training zone for their guns to then make good loadouts for Warzone. So
interesting.
That's where we're at with that.
Do you feel like these are meaningful changes to the standard Call of Duty multiplayer? If you were not playing Warzone, so to speak, if you were, or even if you are, and you just are looking for more variety in Call of Duty Modern Warfare's multiplayer setup.
Yeah, I mean, I really do like that they're bringing the maps for free in this, and I feel like that is like, if you're just playing multiplayer and not caring for Warzone, like getting new maps is such a big deal. It's just because you see the same ones over and over and over again. It really helps to do that. But like I said, they rotate out those playlists as well, so like you can kind of always keep things fresh. I mean, you can do the Halo Master Chief Collection thing where like you queue into the game types you want, but like the playlists are there to kind of spruce things up that aren't on the traditional playlist. So there are things to keep that alive, but like, it was good, and it's probably the best multiplayer that has been for a while, but it's your standard Call of Duty multiplayer, and, like, you know, that formula has not changed all that much.
They've also added a new operator who is on leave from his current post-up as the guy wearing the big dog shirt and scowling at you in line at Rita's. Lurch. I don't know what his deal is. Operator, is that what you play as in Warzone, or? They're
just skins at this point. In Black Ops 4, they were trying to make them more so like Overwatch, where each character had a specific thing. They went back on that on this one. It's more so for skins.
Got it.
I think this guy, I don't know much about him, but I think he's playing into the narrative a bit, but yeah, whatever. That's all good.
Well, there he is.
You know, it's good. Whatever.
Then the changes happened to Warzone. So now they've added access to the stadium, the interior of the train station, the train itself, and they've added new vertical ascenders, so you can kind of like find these hot spots around the map to propel you to the top of buildings and get into weird strategic spaces.
Yeah. So those changes, you just said 4 of them: the train, the airport. Or the inside of the train station, and the brand new stadium. Well, it was always there, but it just wasn't open. The 4th one, the ones with the ascending, the outside like little rafters, is the biggest change in that game right now. It is such a game changer. Yeah, that seemed
like it stood out. Yeah. The other stuff seems cool, like, hey, we've got to a new spot, but this seems like this actually changes the way the game's played.
Yeah, because, like, especially in the downtown area, there's so many buildings that, like, you either have to climb. It feels like the climb from Final Fantasy VII, those stairs sometimes, if you climb the stairs, or there is the ascend, like, through the elevator shaft, but because there's really only one of them in each of these buildings, you just, like, put a claymore there, and even if it doesn't kill the guy, you get the little ping, you see the little thing where it goes off and you got a hit marker, so you just go and wait for them and camp it out. But now there's like 3 things that 2 claymores can't take care of, so you can kind of do this epic flank if you are playing like trios or quads, where you kind of all just tactically kind of move up together. And like some buildings, like this is the cool thing right now, where is a brand new patch that we're still learning the map. Like some buildings, like I didn't realize would have one, and they have one. So like all of a sudden you can get these sneaky little flanks if someone is unknowing about the new changes or whatever. So that has changed strategy. That has changed the way we attack, or decisions in attacking, or even staying on a building as well, and how to guard it. That has been easily the biggest change on the map, in my opinion, in my couple hours of playing the new season. I am thoroughly impressed though with Stadium. I thought they were just going to like open it and it was just going to be the field and you like walk outside. No, it is like a legitimate state. Like it has the whole concourse area. There's a luxury area. There's a parking garage downstairs. Like it feels like a fleshed out map, and they just put it into Verdansk, which is awesome. So what used to be just like this shell where you can land on top of stadium, but there wasn't really much going on there on top. And then there were like you can go like on the outside, like where the doors are in, but you couldn't get in. But now there's like that whole area is open up. You can now access it from the roof. Like they blew the roof open in the story, so like the roof is now open, so you can just drop in right into the stadium, right into the field. Or you can walk in through the doors, and then like within that, there's just like 3 levels of things that can just happen. And there's a whole Easter egg thing with key cards where you can get into these luxury suites, and there's a whole another thing going on there. That's one of the cool things I think Warzone does well, is that they add in these little weird Easter eggs that like hint at different story narrative things if you care about it. So it's really cool. Like there's a thing where like if you decipher this all has to happen in one game, by the way. If you drop in the stadium and you get these 3 key cards and you decipher a code and go into like the CEO or like the luxury like suite, and you can get special loot in there, and then like when you open that door, like fireworks go off at the stadium. So that way anyone that knows like knows about that Easter egg knows that someone opened it, and then you can go attack them because they probably have really good loot because they got into those special areas that have this orange loot boxes, which are the legendary ones. So so
that makes it a big strong or a big heavy risk reward kind of thing.
Yeah, and like the thing right now is like I haven't gotten to explore it a lot because of it being the hot new thing. Everyone is dropping in there right now, so like it is a fight for survival from the time you drop for the first 10 minutes. Just because of the 150 people, I would say about 50 are dropping into that area somewhere. Sure. You know, so it's always a fight. There, but yeah, hopefully once it calms down here a little bit in the next couple of weeks, I'll be able to explore a little bit more for myself. I've watched streamers play and go through Stadium and stuff like that, but yeah, I'm very impressed with how they introduced the new Stadium. Haven't really been inside the new train station yet. Once again, train station's been there, just never been able to go inside the actual station. It's a new area, but I don't think it's as fleshed out. It's just not as much to what they could do in a train station as opposed to Stadium, which like I said, Stadium feels like I'm walking around like the Ravens Stadium. Like it's that detailed, like concession stands and just they nailed it.
That's cool. That's neat. How about Mini Royale? They added a new, smaller, faster version of the...
Yeah, I haven't gotten into it, but some of the people I played with did, and they actually really liked it. They just said it's a lot faster, like just having that small circle from the start, just kind of like... And it changes the way, like... They said it changes the way you play a little bit because, you know, maybe you're not running for a loadout. Maybe you're just, like, running to get, like, the best weapons you can on the ground and then just kind of posting up in a strategic spot in that circle more so than running around and supplying. But, like I said, I haven't played. That's kind of what I heard from who I usually play with. I'm looking to jump into that.
When they added that to PUBG years back, that made sense too, right? Like, because they needed that smaller bit to kind of, like, just change the flow. Because those games in PUBG were, like... knocking on the door of like an hour a lot of times. So
yeah, that's the one thing. Like I always said, PUBG was the slower of the BRs out there. I mean, that's just because it was first, I think, and other people use that pace against them. But man, like I just like making this game even faster somehow is crazy. And then the last thing was the train. So there's a train that actually moves around Verdansk now, and you can, much like Apex and that thing that floats around in the very beginning, if you land on it, there is legendary boxes and all this stuff. But once again, you're usually landing in a hot spot. The one thing I don't like about the train, unlike Apex, the thing was in a different spot, right? And you had to be strategic with your shoots. This starts at the same spot down at the southern part of the map. So it's all like it depends how you want to look at it, but like if you're landing on the train, you're not going to be in a foreign spot. You're always going to be in that southern spot near port in the promenade area. So I wish it was more random. And I hope they patch that, but yeah,
they might.
The train though is cool. Like, you know, you can just ride it all along the map. You can stay on it. You can try to pick off people that are riding it. Like it adds something to it. But after the first initial drop, like all the loot on is gone, and it's kind of like a waste almost in a way.
So again, I think the same question. Like, are these meaningful changes to Warzone for someone who's playing Warzone? It sounds like yes. But...
Yes, yeah. Like last season, I was disappointed when they didn't change the map. I don't know. Like, as much as I think this game always stays fresh as you drop in every time, like, there's something to play on the same map for like close to 100 hours. So like, yeah, it's a welcome change to have these new areas. And even if like 80% of the map didn't change, it was just those areas. But like that 20% is a new thing. Like whenever I get the chance to drop in the stadium, like I'm going to think about that a lot more than I ever have before. And the same thing with train station. But yeah,
the only other thing I saw was the war tracks were added. So now when you buy the battle pass, you get 3 songs to listen to in your vehicle.
Yeah, last season they've been doing more things with the cars. They've been adding skins and stuff like that. Last season they added horns. So like you go horn Ride of the Valkyries if you wanted to, or something else. But now this time I think they replaced horns with these tracks. I keep forgetting to put them on to like my loadouts to see what they are, and I usually am not the one driving. Usually let other people do that. Yeah, it's one of those dumb changes just to add something new, a new cosmetic, so that way they can sell more things.
That way you can feel more like Lurch tailgating somebody on the highway. That's the kind of idea. All right. Did you know there's a new battle pass?
What?
When I read that press release for all of this expansion stuff and all the changes, it was every paragraph either began with or ended with, as part of the new season and the new battle pass, you can purchase the new battle pass. And within the new battle pass, like every little like bullet point they had about like, hey, there's new stadium, train station interior, new blah, blah, blah. It was like, as part of the new battle pass, you can unlock new perks to get blah, blah, blah. War tracks are added for anyone who buys the battle pass. If you buy the battle pass, you'll see that the mini, like, oh my God. And I guess so, because of the $1.37 billion that was earned.
One last thing to add, they put in new weapons, the AN-94 and something else, I think it's an SMG. The verdict is out on if they are broken or not. Last season they added the Bruin as an LMG and ended up being the gun to use in Warzone. So verdict's still out if the new weapons are broken. A lot of the AN is interesting because that was a weapon in Black Ops and was a very overpowered weapon in Black Ops because the first shot out of the chamber actually shoots 2 bullets. So there's interesting strategy with that gun, and I think the community is still trying to figure out if we can break that gun and make it the gun in Warzone.
Well, I think that's the interesting thing. The interesting thing about that from an outsider's perspective is, as this begins to link towards Black Ops, that's a gun that's just added to this. Is that something that's going to tie into Black Ops Doritos when it comes out? Or lead this story together? Like, is the introduction of Black Ops weaponry starting now?
I don't know.
You think it's a subtle hint?
I don't know. I just think it's a gun that they haven't had in this game yet, and it was an easy add.
Yeah, sure. But I wonder if they'll do something more direct with that. That is Call of Duty Warzone. 3 things that are Call of Duty Warzone. Or Call of Duty Warzone, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the whole Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Let's just say Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, parentheses, 2019, Warzone, Doritos.
I think that's a solid episode title as well. Look forward for that. This week, Fall Guys also released on PC, and I don't know, I actually don't know where it all released, which platforms, if it's all across the board or what. I do know it was free on PlayStation Plus, which gave me and you an opportunity to try it at no extra buy-in. So Fall Guys, it's a 60-person survival game made up of several rounds of mini-games and races. So I think you very aptly described it as Mario Party-esque with funny physics like human fall flat.
Yep, that's about right.
So I've seen different things that resemble obstacle courses. I played one round of Grab the Tail, where certain characters or players have tails. You need to sneak up behind them and grab their tail, and then keep your tail if you are one with a tail. I played 5-6 rounds. I don't know how many, but I think I got a good, rough understanding of Fall Guys. It's goofy and weird, and I think it's a fun like warm up game or closeout game. I don't know. Like I don't know that I would spend an indeterminate amount of time with it, but like
yeah, when I'm playing it, if I'm in it for an hour or so, that's more than enough for me. Because it is repetitive, like it is what it is. There's no other modes. You're just going in, you're queuing up with like 59 other people and playing these random mini games. And once you play enough, you've kind of seen them all. There's just not enough variety in a way, and it's weird because the mini games are locked to like the stage of the round. So like they just can't make this giant pool. They have to make this like individual pools for the rounds, which is. I think that kind of... I mean, I get why they did it, but also I think that's hurting the variety of what you're seeing. I like I said, I really like it. It plays out like a game show. I feel like, to show a Wipeout. Like, I feel like I'm just playing a giant video game version of that. And like I said, I really like it. I think it's goofy. I'm sitting there, I'm playing it. Victoria's watching me. She's laughing at just how goofy and dumb it is. But yeah, no, I think it's like almost. I think they got the mix right of like casualness, RNG, and skill. For something like this, like it's. I don't want to like have it become this thing where like I can just walk in and just win every time if I've played enough because I know the games and I know like how to cheat it. Like I feel like there's enough RNG in the levels and with just like the design of everything where like there might be usually yes I qualify with the races, but like there could be a time where like the seesaws and that seesaw level just aren't like going my way and I just get stuck in an area. Like that's a very possible thing that could happen.
Or one of those horizontal windmills just kind of bashes you like or. There was a run where I was doing so well, and then somebody moved left by accident and just bashed into me, and then it was like, disqualification because I couldn't catch up back in time. So yeah, I think there's a good element to it for sure.
And then like it's not everything's individual based. They'll knock you out by teams as well. So like you can get into teams of however many and do these little games. The grab the tail is one of them. You have egg scramble. There's this one where you have to push a ball like. It's like a giant ball. I have to push it to the goal before the other ones do, but you could sabotage the other ones once you get to a certain point. There's a bunch of things like that. So, like, even if you are like technically like the best player on the field, like you could be brought down by your team and eliminated that way. So, like I said, I think there's a good mix of RNG, skill, and just randomness. To make it appealing to everyone. And like even Victoria's like looking at it and it's like, oh, you know what, this might be something I want to hop into at some point just because it's goofy and casual enough. I've gotten the chicken dinner twice. Actually, right before we started, when you said you had 2 minutes, I actually hopped on for a Fall Guys game and won. So
what do you get when you win?
So this is the part where I'm willing to defend a season pass for this game. So it has the two currencies. You get the free one, and then you get the premium one, which is called Kudos. So you actually earn a Kudos when you win. So you're not locked into buying it or getting it through the season pass leveling system like you see in everything else. So like I said, I think the game show aspect of it lends to like, all right, here's the game show. Oh, you won the game show this week or, this episode or whatever. Here is prize money. And now you get to go into the store and spend the prize money. Like, it clicks in my head that way. I don't see it as like this scammy, like, all right, well, you got it for free this time, but next season you're going to spend $10. I'm more like, oh, like I'm just picking out of the prize machine because I won this time, or I've got enough winnings from the shows that I can get this prize this week. They do the Fortnite thing where the shop rotates. They rotate both premium things with the Kudos and the regular currency. I forget what it's called.
I think. Wait, so Mark texted me that he was upsetty spaghetti in his words. That yesterday they had Jacket's costume from Hotline, but the currency's crowns.
It's a crown emblem, but it's called Kudos.
Okay, and then he said that it's 5 each, but you only get 1 for winning. Is that what it is? Mm-hmm. So he would have to win 10 times,
or buy,
or spend money to get that thing.
And then you get some at certain points in like their season pass leveling system as well.
Right.
Because I have 3 right now, and I know I got 1 from that, and then I think I got 2 for winning. So yeah, like I don't know, like I think that like you could do it, but I don't know, like, you know, at some part of it, they got to balance it out. Also, that is a premium piece of content, in my opinion. It's not like something they just made up. Like that is like Hotline Miami. I think that's something that is an easy cash in. Like I said, this is the one weird time where I think I'm going to like stick up for the season pass.
I think it fits for what they're doing. I just also am bored of that whole mechanic.
True.
I'm really bored of, I think it's just a tired thing at this point. I mean, every game has the same boxes that you watch fill up, like everything. And there's some that do it better than others. Like, you know, I kind of praised Halo for letting you jump around within the same 10 levels or whatever to pick and choose what you want. Like, I think that there are games that do it differently, but everything has the same progression, you know, and it's just boring. I played some Tekken 7 this week, and there's a thing in there where you fight, you just kind of fight indefinitely, and the fights get harder and whatever, and the more consecutive wins you get, the more you're unlocking out of these treasure chests. But that, even though it's visually not the same thing, it's still like the same like progression loop of just like do this and fill this meter and then get more stuff. And it's just that constant drip feed across the board. And it's tough because
satisfying though.
It is, but I'm also bored. Because I get it, like it is, and I've definitely chased those before where I'm like, I want to fill up that meter because it's a meter. So you know what I mean? There's that just like lizard part of the brain that wants to do that, but just everything. I don't know.
Thank Call of Duty for this, and I'm not talking about this year. I'm talking about like Call of Duty 4, the apex of multiplayer and like how that leveling system, and you kept getting new weapons with the level. Like companies and publishers just found out how to monetize that.
Yep. No, I mean Call of Duty. I remember when that happened, and then you started to see it pop up in other games across the board. And I mean, granted, it all goes back to RPGs and that constant leveling up system and things evolve over time. I'm ready for the next iteration.
And then each season's a new prestige. Like it's like
but Fall Guys generally, that's one I think I might poke at if I turn on my PlayStation and there's nothing to immediately play. Or if one of you guys text me and is like, hey, you want to do a couple rounds? Like I think that.
So that's actually a gripe. And then we only played that one game, but
yeah,
that's my gripe about this is there's a party system where you can jump into the same game together, and that's really cool. And I think it even aligns you on teams as well. At least like whenever I watch streamers and they were playing with other people, they always seem to be on the same team, so that's nice. But once you get eliminated and your friend's still in it, like all you can really do is like there's nothing. Like, part of the charm of this game is like, all right, I lost. I can jump right back in. I'm back into like round one of a show in 2 minutes, right?
Yeah.
You kind of lose that pace.
There's that, but I think from my end, when that happened to me, when I got eliminated and you were still in, granted, it was like the first game I had played, so I was still eager to learn what the whole game is, but I was also excited to see how far you could go.
Yeah, and I guess you can have that, but like, I don't know. I just feel like once, like, game... And maybe this is where like you can't see yourself spending a whole afternoon with it. Like maybe after game 5 of me, like if I'm just having a bad day and I keep getting eliminated in round 2 and I'm just watching you guys go to round 4, like at some point I'm just gonna be like, what the fuck, man? Like,
yeah,
I can't get a break here. And that's the beautiful thing where once again, Call of Duty. This is my favorite term this episode. Like at least with Call of Duty, yeah, I might watch my teammates a lot if I'm having a bad day, but at least I know they can always buy me back at some point.
Yeah, there's that, but I mean, like, I think about the other, like, Battle Royale genre stuff, like, Call of Duty aside with the Gulag, but, like, any of the other ones, when you're out, you're out. So, I don't think this is different in that way. I think that it definitely sucks, because you're playing a game, so you want to play the game. But
yeah.
In that moment that I had, I didn't mind it. But again, that was one game, first game. Yeah. Well, we're going to take our first break, maybe our only break, but we're going to take a break. When we come back, we've got that there Rocksteady video game to talk about, some Pikmin, and a little bit more. Be right back. Matt, you know my biggest pet peeve is how slow the PlayStation Store is, how slow the Nintendo Switch Store eShop has become, and of course the Xbox one as well. And thankfully, Microsoft announced changes coming to the Xbox Store for Xbox Insiders as early as August 5th. But the plan is to roll it out little by little, drip feed style, until ultimately this is just the new store for everyone. There's a blog post on Xbox Wire that folks can go check out and see what it looks like from screenshots. But also on that page, there's a cut to the Major Nelson podcast where one of the lead designers of the new storefront actually like walks through bit by bit what it looks like or will look like for those who get it. So the things that stood out to me is how quickly it opens. And they were doing it, and Major Nelson opens it. You know, he's talking about how he hadn't opened it on his Xbox, and he's just kind of walking through like he's like, all right, here I am going cold. Like they're just doing like a live demo of the whole thing, and like literally opens, and then the guy talking about it, he's like, yeah, he's like, you know, it is under 2 seconds, sometimes under 1 second, depending on like if you had it open before, and it's like recently cached or whatever, it would like open in under a second. It's the third version of the store. They started with the Xbox 360, they had the Xbox One version, and now this newer version that's going to go cross-gen between Xbox One and Series X. A lot of the navigation now is on the left sidebar, so they're kind of mirroring what they did with that last dashboard change where everything kind of flows vertically down, but now you kind of have a button where you hit the view button, or the back button as I remember calling it on the 360. AKA select, and it kind of pops the sidebar out, and you can jump between games, deals, movies, TV shows, whatever. The cool thing that I saw that they were showing, and I really like this is, I'm excited. Like, my excitement was measurable as I'm watching this yesterday. It was really cool. It seems weird to be excited about a storefront, but I really like. One of my favorite things to do is just look at stuff I'm never going to play. I noticed, like, literally last night, I was like, what do I want to play? And I'm looking through Game Pass, I'm looking through everything, I'm going through the Xbox store, I'm like, all over the board, and I end up playing nothing, because I spend like 2.5 hours just staring at, like, options, which is just, it's a great hobby of mine, is just exploring stores. So this really did excite the heck out of me. But what's neat is as you're going through, like right now, the way things are set up, it's kind of hard. There's like a few menus in before you realize like, oh, this is already on Game Pass, or, oh, this is on sale or whatever. And they're kind of front loading, like right up front, like this is on Game Pass. They're also doing things where like if your friends have played a game, they'll put their little avatar right there, which looks neat. They're going to quickly highlight at the bottom of like the brief description of a game, whether it's on sale, whether it's part of a subscription service like Gold or EA Access or something. And they'll also start to pipe in relevant content based on your recent activity. So if you've been playing certain things, they'll suggest certain things, which is kind of neat. Like I know a lot of everything we do is tracked by algorithms and all of that, but for something like the Xbox store, any of these storefronts where like there's so many games that it's hard to know where to go next sometimes, or even what to look for. So for some of that stuff to kind of surface it a little bit more. The term that the developer they had, or I forget what his actual title was, I'm sorry, was the snackable storefront. That's their kind of like cute little marketing term or whatever. But the idea that you can just kind of like browse at your content and just kind of snack on content. The one big thing I thought was neat too was comparing editions of games. The one they showed off specifically was Forza Horizon 4, where right now when you look at it, it's like you'll look at a game page, and then at the very bottom of it, there's like a little pop-up menu. You know what I'm talking about? Where it like it buries this stuff. Now you click compare editions of a game, and it just pops up every edition available with all of the things within listed out below the image of what the edition is. Then it shows you how much it is, whether or not you already own it. And I also noticed that color-wise, they switch it so that if you have Game Pass, now the pricing is listed in yellow to indicate this. It seemed very PlayStation Plus to me. Like the thing on PlayStation when I'm navigating and it's like, hey, this is the PS Plus price. And it's always bright yellow. Like that stuck out to me. I don't know. But and then lastly, they made it better working with a controller, which is cool because I feel like a lot of times this is like sluggish and weird. And sometimes it's like, this seems like I should have a mouse. I know I just did a bunch of free marketing for the Xbox Game Store, but like as literally as someone who I just spent a bunch of time looking at what games to play and just exploring what's out there. The load times and the bogged down nature of so many of these stores just sucks. You know, like I like discovering new things and I like finding something that looks cool, and anything that gets in the way of that just is a bummer. Yeah. So the fact that they are thinking about this, and as the generation has gone on, these things just get kind of bogged down, and there's a lot of things that have been added since the beginning of the generation that weren't considered, like Game Pass. So now putting that into direct consideration when redesigning the store, I think makes for a better storefront. Yeah, the only other update, yeah.
I was saying, and you can see like where they're cherry picking things from like Steam or even PlayStation or whatever, because that comparison list thing for like different editions, like PS does that already, which is kind of nice when you can see that pop up. But yeah, no, like a redesign like is a good opportunity to take things from what other storefronts do, and it seems like they're taking some of the best stuff from all that.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I do not have it yet. I'm on the Insider ring, but not, I guess, the one that I need to be on to get this already. So, but I'm looking forward to it. I was also looking forward to our next story, xCloud. I guess it's not called xCloud anymore. It's just cloud gaming for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members right now. But on September 15th, the service launches on Android with over 100 titles from Game Pass available. Keyword Android. This kind of blew up at the end of the week So I was part of the test flight for this on iOS, so I could play it, but the way that it rolled out on iOS is you could only play Master Chief Collection because Apple was forcing Microsoft to push any games playable within the xCloud app through certification again. So the games had to go through certification just like an app would, but it would be on a game-by-game basis. And that's kind of where we fall into the next chunk of this story, where xCloud is launching for Android users on September 15th, part of your Game Pass Ultimate subscription. If you have an Android phone or tablet, you've got Game Pass. Initially, now I think I've got these out of order, but I believe Microsoft spoke first.
Microsoft fired back.
Say it again?
Apple went first, Microsoft fired back.
Okay.
Because then Facebook kind of piggybacked off of Microsoft as well, which we don't have it as news story, but yeah.
So Apple states, I'm just going to read these quotes as they are written. Apple stated, "The App Store was created to be a safe and trusted place for customers to discover and download apps and a great business opportunity for all developers." This is told to Business Insider. "Before they go on our store, all apps are reviewed against the same set of guidelines that are intended to protect customers and provide a fair and level playing field to developers. Our customers enjoy great apps and games from millions of developers, and gaming services can absolutely launch on the App Store as long as they follow the same set of guidelines applicable to all developers, including submitting games individually for review and appearing in charts and search. In addition to the App Store, developers can choose to reach all iPhone and iPad users over the web through Safari and other browsers on the App Store." That was the response after asked, what up? Why is this just coming to Android and not iOS? Microsoft has responded to that, stating, "Our testing period for Project xCloud Preview app for iOS has expired." Now, I got an email partway through the week that let me know that app was going to go away September 11th, just ahead of the launch on September 15th. And then midway through the week, that app stopped working. The quote continues, "Unfortunately, we do not have a path to bring our vision of cloud gaming with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate to gamers on iOS via the Apple App Store." This is to Windows Central. Apple stands alone as the only general-purpose platform to deny customers from cloud gaming and game subscription services like Xbox Game Pass, and it consistently treats gaming apps differently, applying more lenient rules to non-gaming apps even when they include interactive content. All games available in the Xbox Game Pass catalog are rated for content by independent industry rating bodies such as the ESRB and regional equivalents. We are committed to finding a path to bring cloud gaming with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate to the iOS platform. We believe that the customer should be at the heart of the gaming experience, and gamers tell us they want to play, connect, and share anywhere, no matter where they are. We agree. So, this is the same thing for Stadia that's happening. There has not been an iOS version of Stadia. This all seems that, and I think the big thing was that something like Netflix can exist there without any scrutiny on the content within Netflix. And Apple cited that things like that, specifically, it's that those are not interactive media the way that games are interactive media was the idea there. But also you can get a Netflix subscription through the App Store and through your Apple account or your Apple ID, so therefore Apple can get its cut of the money. Where right now, Apple doesn't get a cut of the money. Just like they weren't going to get a cut of the Steam money when the Steam Link app was going to launch last year. And now the Steam Link app is on iOS, but only to connect locally, to your own PC. So you're kind of just doing remote play the same way that you would do from a PS4 to an iOS device.
How did Bandersnatch work?
It didn't.
Okay.
I tried watching Bandersnatch on the Apple TV, and it said, please use a compatible device or something like that. So I had to stop and watch it on my Xbox. But yeah, so this is a bummer for sure. Like, I was really excited for this, and I think I was kind of lamenting some of my agitation with this. And Katie was like, well, dude, you don't leave. Where are you going to use this? But like the idea that I could sit somewhere else in the house and play these games on a phone or my iPad, was exciting. And the little moments, like, I don't know, like, not that like vacation is a thing right now, but you know, we've loosely talked about like, maybe we'll take a day trip somewhere, just like do a weekend away at a place or something, if that makes sense in a couple of months. And for that, like, that would be cool if, like, the dream that Phil Spencer wove in my brain when he said, like, yeah, I've been traveling to Asia to talk with developers in Korea and Japan, and while I'm there, I'm playing Destiny on my phone, and it's the same Destiny I'm playing on my Xbox at home. Like, that is wild. Like, and I know that that's the world we live in because it's real. I did the same thing when I got the test flight for xCloud last year. I remember being in my office and just being like, does it actually work? And then firing it up, and like, we're sitting there looking at Halo running on my phone. And it was like, this is nuts. And it was, you know, because that's the thing, like, some of those things you launch it and it's like, it's a half version, or it's there, because we've seen pieces of that before, but like, this was my Xbox account. That was really neat. And it picked up right where I left off with the season pass, all that stuff. It was cool.
Bummer. It sucks that, like, this is the one time where I'm like, man, I kind of wish I had an Android tablet just laying around, or, you know, something. But yeah, like you said, I don't do a lot of the remote play stuff, at least not yet. I always kind of forget about it, that it exists. But like, I don't know, this is a weird, interesting caveat to bring up, especially right at this time when you think of the congressional hearing that just happened. I think it was like a week and a half ago now, where all the big players are at not at Congress, but virtually at Congress, just to you're talking about the antitrust stuff with the App Store and all this stuff. So it's gonna be interesting to see where it how this all can play into it as well, or if it even does.
Yeah, I don't know. It sucks. Like, this is the first time that I've felt like because some of these things have popped up in the past, and like even the Steam one, I was like, that's dumb, but you know, it was like, whatever. It didn't really affect me, and like, This one doesn't largely affect me, but it still feels like a third of what I'm paying for Game Pass Ultimate I can't access, which that sucks. And it's not Microsoft's fault, right? Like, they can't do anything about that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Not at all. That's the part that kind of sucks, but...
Yeah, it's a bummer. And again, like you said, my lifestyle isn't one that necessarily that makes sense for this to be a thing. But one, it affects a bunch of people that would use it, right? But two, like, even the idea of just being able to play somewhere else in the house, like, there are times where I do feel like sitting at my computer and playing there. And the fact that Xbox has done a great job of, like, bridging the gap between Xbox and PC, where I can just play on either or, pick up my save, all that stuff, it goes hand in hand with stuff like this, where it's like, you know, I want to be able to play where and when I want to play.
Yeah.
Same thing with, like, when I would do remote play on Vita. You know, it wasn't necessary, but, like, now you're in a shared living space, right? So there's those times where you might want to play something and don't want to take the whole TV. So, okay, well, let me just play really quickly on my phone or my iPad. Something that you can't play otherwise, but something that still makes sense in a handheld way.
Yeah,
it's a bummer. The last week we talked about potential changes coming to Xbox Live Gold. As of right now, a spokesperson for Xbox states there is no changes coming to Xbox Live Gold. Says, quote, the update to Xbox Online Service in the Microsoft Services Agreement refers to the underlying Xbox service that includes features like cross saves and friend requests. This language update is intended to distinguish that underlying service and the paid Xbox. I'm sorry. This language update is intended to distinguish that underlying service and the paid Xbox Live Gold subscription. There are no changes being made to the experience of the service or Xbox Live Gold. This was just a couple of those weird things were swirling, and then terms of service got changed so that it seemed like Xbox Live Gold was being stripped out of the terms of service, and this is just a clarification of that. So, who knows?
We'll see.
And finally,
We'll see. I'm still... It still makes too much sense to get rid of it at this point, just replace it with Ultimate, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yep, and that Halo Infinite free-to-play from last week was like, that was the writing on the wall right there, I think. And then new Game Pass titles this week. There were a good chunk. I was excited to see that Man of Medan got added because I liked Until Dawn and wanted to play this. So that's neat. But also Xenocrisis got a bunch of titles, but I'm only highlighting a few here. But Xenocrisis, I did jump in and play some Xenocrisis after it hit Game Pass. This is a game by the developers are called Bitmap Bureau. They made a game, an actual Sega Genesis game that actually runs on an actual Sega Genesis cart. But also you can play it anywhere because it's 2020. And it's really good. It is really, really, really good. I've wanted to play it. Yeah, I've wanted to play it since it came out. But just never did. And basically it's a top-down shooter. And you move through rooms kind of like how Legend of Zelda dungeons are laid out, right? Like where it's big rectangular rooms you're moving through piece by piece, and just waves of enemies come in at you from each side, and you take them out. But you're slowly leveling up your health, your attack power, how many grenades you can carry, that kind of stuff. You find random weapons in the field. But I think it's a really challenging game, and I think it has really incredible music. Like, I think it's a Genesis soundtrack I would listen to by itself. It just happens that it's rad while you're playing too. But yeah, I mean, it sounds weird to say that it feels and sounds like a Genesis game, because it is a Genesis game just made 20 years later. But that's the part that's really cool about it is, and it's one of those ones where I love seeing stuff like this when it happens, and when it happens well, because some of the examples of these like, what are they called? Like ROM hacks in a way. This is not a ROM hack. This is a game. But I've seen like those things of examples of this where like it's done and it's kind of done in a way that's like, okay, well, yeah, you got it to work, but this is like an example like Shovel Knight, or Shovel Knight doesn't technically run on an NES, but like the idea that modern game design sensibilities can be applied to old tech is really fascinating to me. I think Micromages was an actual example that runs on an NES that I think modern game design applied to old tech worked really well with Micromages. And I think here with Xenocrisis, it's got that cool 16-bit shoot aliens thing going on. You know what I mean? Where like so much of the 16-bit era was let's shoot aliens and deal with alien invasion stuff or whatever. But yeah, I think it sounds good, plays good. It's a fun game, and Game Pass, so hit it up. And I think for both too, is Game Pass for Xbox and PC. It's available.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And that brings us to another game where we shoot aliens, Matt, called Halo Reach. We jumped back in. You, me, and Mark dove back into that campaign. We started that campaign in like December or whatever when it was added to the Master Chief Collection on our ever long journey towards Halo Infinite. So we made it to Reach. Well, we didn't make it. We went back to Reach, but we've got, as the three of us, we've got to finish Reach and then 5. Which I'm still so excited for you guys to see 5, just because it's a weird game, such an outlier. But we'll get there. How does Reach feel to you compared to playing so much multiplayer in Halo? And admittedly, like I've been not queuing us in to Reach multiplayer because I don't like Reach multiplayer.
Yeah, no, it's the jetpack mode, man. Like I get that too often. No, you know, like campaign, like I don't know, I feel more relaxed when I'm playing with you guys through the campaign than so much so multiplayer. Like even if we are just, you know, we're just playing the social playlist, we're not playing ranked or competitive or anything like that. But even like sometimes my tryhard hat has to come on when it comes to multiplayer, just because I get too frustrated if I just dying all the time. But going to the campaign, even when we are playing on Legendary, I just feel like it's more like a relaxed environment. And the campaign itself for Reach, like it's fine. It has like all your different, you know, it's your typical Halo campaign. I think like, you know, I think we get to the point here where like I know like Reach is like everyone's darling. If it feels like when people talk about the Halo franchise, but like Reach is fine. I think at this point, like you get to the point where like the formula kind of got tired at this point. And like especially when we're playing them in the order we're playing, I skipped ODST like I did in real life, but it's just another Halo game, and like you know where the story's taking you. Even I know, I mean I kind of know roughly what happens, but like even not knowing the spoilers of Reach, like you know where the story takes you because it's a prequel, and you know how Reach ends. And like I don't know, like I'm having trouble like. And it might just be because I'm playing with you and Mark at the same time, but like I'm not getting attached to any of the Noble Team members. So as they go down, I'm not like, oh man, there goes that one. I'm not like it doesn't have that emotional impact. So like I don't know. And I think like to be fair, that's kind of how I was feeling when I was playing this by myself years ago. And I got to literally the part we ended at, and I was like, I think this is the last one. This is the last thing I remember. So yeah. So I mean, we'll see. I'm having fun. Like it did kind of pick up at the Exodus level. They started throwing some more mechanics that are more Reach exclusive, like the flying around in the jet, like the Pelican level of New Alexandria. Like the newer stuff feels kind of refreshing and cool, and the pace of the game and the story is kind of picking up all at the same time. There's a little bit of angst in your movement at this point, but yeah, like I don't know, the first little part of that didn't really do much. Like I know Halsey, like that's a big thing, but like I don't know. They didn't do much. And like so much of the beginning of that is just kind of like a repeat of the first Halo, like the night level. Like, yeah, it's a nice homage, right? But we played it before.
Yeah, I think contextually looking back at it, it's like you think about it at the time it released, and it's like, okay, it probably was a big impact on people who had been playing Halo since the beginning. I know that there was a guy that I worked with who, Andrew, I'm sorry if you're listening to this or if you ever hear this, but I totally disagree. He told me that he felt Reach, he may have said ODS3, I can't remember now, but that I think he said Reach, or maybe Reach and ODST, was Bungie's apology for how badly they screwed up 3. And I just don't agree with that at all, because I thought 3 was really good.
Yeah, 3's my favorite only because, like, 2's ending is still bad. Like, even the fact that you don't have to wait for 3 anymore. Yeah. But that still is like, ugh. How can you end a game like that?
But I liked 2 for that. I know that's a dumb thing to say, but and again, that's coming from someone who played it first and was able to click down one slot on the menu and start the next game and not wait 3.5 years. But I think that even still, like, I liked 2 as a package. I don't know. I think it worked. But either way, like, I liked 3 a lot. But yeah, Reach, I agree with everything you said. Like, it feels good to play, and I like some of the homage stuff, but even playing alone, like, I think there's one death, the one that we just saw, where I was kind of like playing by myself. I was like, but the other ones just, they don't, I didn't really get attached to it.
But at the same time, so, like, that death happens, but as that death happens, you were making fun of a bad delivery of a line that you had every right to make fun of. Like, yeah. So, like, and that's the thing where, like, I'm playing with you two, and I'm like, I can't have the total emotional experience, but I don't think I had that the last time either. I was just trying to get through the goddamn game, and I obviously failed at that. So, like, here we are. Yeah. I think I'd rather be playing with you guys, to have the goofiness, to have us, like, talking about dumb IJers and, and pranking bros.
It changes. And what?
And pranking bros,
Right, yeah. Our favorite Frankie Muniz moments.
Yeah. Or listen to Superman whenever we get into a Warhog or something dumb.
Yeah, exactly. Is there anything you think that Infinite should pull from Halo Reach?
You see, and this is when you pose that question in our notes here, I thought about it, and I don't think this is the game they need to look back on. I think 343 needs to look at things in their new genre they're about to look at, and they should really look at the Far Cry games and take a look at how they've adapted their open world. How, like, I don't know what level. I hope Halo takes the more serious level, but, like, see how to balance, like, the comical open world stuff that happens in those types of games versus, like, a serious story. Take something like that. Take the activities from Far Cry. Maybe not, like, all the hunting stuff, obviously, but, like, maybe change those hunting things to a bounty hunt for an elite or something like that, or an outpost clearing. Like, those are always fun in those types of games. And then take a look at their misses. I haven't played 5, but I know 5 is divisive in the community. Mm-hmm. And 4 is not my favorite game. Like, 4 is, like, the worst of them all, and a lot of it is because of the gunplay. So they have to. I think those are the games they worked on themselves. They have to look at those and maybe learn from their mistakes there. And whether that's 5's way of telling a story or 4's gunplay, like, adjusting all of that and then trying to make it all work in a Far Cry-esque open world. Though that's what you kind of have to look at. Not Reach. Reach, that's Bungie's last game. Like to a point, yes, you have to respect the heritage, but Reach is not the one to look at, in my opinion.
The one thing I've been enjoying of Reach as we've gone through some of the harder parts of it, and I feel like playing 3 of us on Legendary this game's pretty easy.
Yeah, I know. When we booted up last night, we plowed through that area, and we had to check.
I had
our
to double
difficulty.
check. I hit start, and I was like, I did queue into the right thing, right? But I do like some of the ways the combat puzzles have come together. It was giving me moments of Doom Eternal where, like, different players on the map, different chess pieces, if you will, on the map, and, like, moving around and, kind of being strategic with flanking. And I think we saw a piece of that in that Halo Infinite demo that they showed off, where Chief is going into that little battleground area or whatever to fight different waves or different pockets of enemies.
Yeah.
But I hope that there's more stuff like that, because that's been the fun part of Reach for me, is how do I take this guy out? How do I take this guy out? What's different about this one versus this one? Which I think that's inherently Halo, but I think that maybe for me it's been refreshing because so much of my Halo experience in the last 3 months has been multiplayer. We're now going back to the campaign and seeing the AI again. Maybe that's just refreshing, so maybe I'm just excited for that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't put my finger to it, but there is something magical about the campaigns, and even like it's at its worst. Like Halo's still fun. 4 gets weird, and I hope 5 steers away from that. But like the base campaigns from Reach to 3 are a lot of fun, and they got good pace into them, and I just hope like they can adapt that to an open world successfully, because it's the classic meme of like Fallout 4, right? Like, oh, in a hurry to save your kid, spends 200 hours in the wasteland not doing a single mission. Like, you have to find that balance. Or like pace the story in a way where you have that drive to go to the next thing, but not do too extreme where Mark has his difficulty with Breath of the Wild, where he can't do it to this side stuff because the world's in trouble. He needs to go to the castle now, which I told him just do it with a stick, but he won't.
Sometimes it doesn't work.
But yeah, it's going to be weird. Like whenever you shift genres like that in a franchise, it's weird because you can't pull entirely from your heritage anymore. You can't learn just from your last game. You're going to have to learn from other things and learn how to make it feel new and not just like a ripoff of Far Cry.
Yeah.
And I'm curious about Yakuza later this year. I'm very curious about how they handle it, and that might be just like a good example like how a franchise can do it, or maybe not how to do it. Verdict's still up, but it seems like that's a good game from what we've heard of Yakuza.
Yeah, it was received really well in Japan. So
yeah, it's going to be tricky, and it's going to be, and it's along the lines of Guerrilla. Like, it's not the same franchise. It wasn't Killzone, Zero Dawn, but like, they pivoted their entire studio to do something new, and it worked out for them too. So, I'm curious.
I wrapped up A Plague Tale: Innocence this last week.
How was that?
I liked it a lot. It kind of... It falls into that piece of kind of the mid-tier of games where it fits right into that space, like a lot of games from like 2003 to 2006 of just like a small project with big ideas and big ambition, but where it kind of does a few things really, really well, and then a few things by the end of it feel like they didn't get the same amount of playtesting or polish. They were just kind of like added in. So I think it could have used another like round on the second half of the game. It like never fully was in the detriment of my enjoyment. Mostly, like there were some pieces where I was kind of like, but not all the way.
Yeah.
I think some of the stuff was like, the way they kind of kept giving you new abilities was neat, where something would happen where like you start to just see little bits of the environment where you're like, man, if only I had a way to like put out fires, I could do so much more with getting the rats to go kill these soldiers. Like right as the point hits where you're kind of naturally thinking those things, conveniently enough, some character goes, there's a way you could craft something to put out those fires. And it's like, sick. That's exactly what I was looking for. So I feel like they were smart with the way they rolled those things out and introduced those. There was one part towards, it was like right before the final bit, where it was a stealth piece where you had to sneak behind a rolling cart, and that sucked. Just point blank sucked.
All right.
For a few reasons. One is there's no indication of safety behind the cart. So there's never like a good stealth indicator throughout the whole game. You just kind of know that you're crouching below the surface or behind a thing, and you know that you're not getting shot at, so it's okay. But in this case, there's 3 archers who are set up and posted up along the wall, and they're firing down, and another character you've met along the way is pushing this cart for you so that you and your brother can sneak alongside the cart. Well, they're shooting either way, so you don't really know if they see you or not because they're shooting. And that's different than the rest of the game, where if someone was shooting, it's because they saw you. So as you're sneaking along, it's like, I don't know if I'm covered or not until I'm hit with an arrow and dead immediately. And now I've got to wait, I've got to reload, and the reloading's pretty quick. But then this cart sequence, the checkpointing for it is before the cart starts. So you need to go over, touch the back of the cart, hear the stupid canned dialogue, hear like all of the stuff that happens. Like it just happened over and over and over and over. And there's 3 collectibles that were like some of the like higher tiered materials that you kind of have to get. You don't have to, but like if you want to keep crafting everything. So it was like start the cart, get the materials, move alongside the cart, walk enough to where I can dip down to this thing and take out the enemy who's running toward me. And I'm shot. Okay, let's start that over again. And I mean, it was one of those moments. And I just feel like I've had so many of those games with like those middle-sized games where pieces like that happen by the end where like out of nowhere, there's just some dumb thing like that you're just hung up on for 30 minutes. And you're like, why? This is not hard. Why am I failing at this so much? And I got through it, whatever, but it was like at a certain point I'm trying to take out the archers and I successfully got 2 of them down, but then 2 more run in their way. So I'm like, okay, they're clearly not meant to be taken out. They're going to be there the whole time. They're always going to respawn. They're always going to whatever. Then there was after you kind of get a certain point forward, enemies start coming up from the back. So the enemies are running up from the back of you, and then you turn around to kill them, and like the distance between the cart's moving faster than you're moving because you stopped to take out the enemies behind you, and the archers are getting you. It was frustrating. I don't mean to harp on it so much, but I feel like I spent so much time fussing with it that it was just such a pain.
I mean, I get that. I think we've all played those games where that happens.
Yeah. So I think ultimately, like last week, I'm curious to see where this game goes and what the team does with a sequel or a follow-up. There's a lot of really good ideas about combat, and I think the gameplay systems, I think the way that Amicia learns how to craft different tools with alchemy, I think is really neat. There's a part in the story where you need to get you go back to Amicia's hometown to try and find something that her mom may have been working on. You kind of get the idea that like her mom was really deep into the alchemy stuff. And you find out like she was really deep into the alchemy stuff. Like you go underground and find like this whole like Roman history, like this like fallen crypt of the Roman Empire that her mom would sneak down to do witchcraft stuff. And in there, the character Lucas, who becomes a companion throughout the story, he was like the alchemist's ward. He is like really influencing her intrigue throughout the whole the whole game and the story, to kind of like push her to explore alchemy in a different way. And it's like, I feel like they could explore that where like she maybe grows more powerful and more skilled in that regard. There's some stuff with her brother Hugo, who I think he still has a story to uncover of his own. Like, I don't think we're done with Hugo's story. There's a big final boss fight that kind of seems weird in context because, like, the whole game is pretty muted and stealth and whatever. There's some small combat sequences, and then the final boss is this big rat party, which is really cool. But it's just a different thing. But I think that there's still stuff to explore with Hugo, and he has a cool like rat ability. He's one with the rats, and I think that's an interesting piece that they could explore. So that's kind of where I end up with that game. Like I think there's a lot of really cool ideas that I would like to see what else they can do with it. I don't want that to be the end of it. I'd hope it's not the end of it. I don't think.
Nah, that game got good buzz. I think it sold all right.
Yeah, I think it did pretty well across the board. So we'll see. If you're looking for something on Game Pass, I recommend that. Moving on, Matt. It's time for another installment of our new weekly recurring segment, Who Would Win in a Fight? Matt, pick a number 1 through 8.
2.
All right, Matt. Who would win in a fight? Liquid Ocelot, Sephiroth.
Yikes. Gut says Sephiroth.
Why does your gut say Sephiroth? Why over Liquid?
Even though Liquid is an arm off of Revolver Ocelot by the time Metal Gear Solid 4 rolls around. And that's a whole nother issue and crazy thing in the Metal Gear Solid series as it is. He's still a human, and Solid Snake beats him down in in one of the most epic conclusions to a video game ever in Metal Gear Solid 4. Before the hour 10 cutscene to end the game, and then the credits, and then another bonus cutscene after the credits. A single man is able to beat down Liquid Ocelot by the time that game ends. So Sephiroth is just weird beast, and there's still things you don't know about him that I do that just lead me to go with Sephiroth in this battle. Okay. Yeah. Go Mako.
All right. The Mako it is. So Sephiroth advancing forward, just like last week we saw out of Ganon and Dr. Neo Cortex. Ganon advancing forward. So tune in next week to find out who would win in a fight in our next round. But now, let's talk about who would win in a fight Street Fighter style with some Street Fighter V news. Matt, brought to you by Kenny Omega. The Street Fighter V update for this summer is the first of an ongoing video series. They did a new video series thing with game director Nakayama-san and producer Matsumoto-san. And Kenny Omega was in the video as well. It's like a 15-minute long look at the characters, the development of the characters, and they're going to keep doing stuff like that, kind of like small developer diaries of what's going on in Street Fighter V. The new season of characters, as the game enters its 5th year, they pointed out, which I forgot. Like, I know Street Fighter V is old, but like, man, it is old. 4 of the 5 characters for this season have been announced, starting soon with the release of Dan Hibiki, first from Street Fighter Alpha as a hidden character. Dan was kind of like a background character in one of the earlier games and then kind of came forward, and he has a very unique playstyle. They're bringing Rose from Street Fighter Alpha. They're bringing Oro from Street Fighter 3. The 4th character coming next year is Akira Kazuma from Rival Schools. The interesting thing here is that Rival Schools had a notably different gameplay style than the Street Fighter series, but they're going to bring that gameplay into Street Fighter V, and then the idea was that it will evolve how Street Fighter V plays. So I think we might see this becoming a little different. Then they have an unknown 5th character releasing fall of 2021, which I wonder if that character bridges the gap between the old and the new Street. That's yet to be seen, but that should be interesting. And they also announced Street Fighter League Season 3 is starting soon. And the game is on sale, and you can do a free trial and play all of the current 40 characters through August 19th. I almost reinstalled this on my PS4 because I bought that Championship Edition when they launched it earlier this year. And I remembered how long the load time is when you try and start the game. I was like, maybe I don't. So then I started playing Tekken instead, but I don't know. I might get into it still. There's something just solid about Street Fighter. You know, it just feels good. It's
been around for forever. Not just this one, but Street Fighter. It's still the fighting game of fighting games. Like, still kind of like the first one I think of.
Yeah. Some others might think of Super Smash Brothers, which also got an update this week, in update version 8.10, which adds a new small battlefield stage. You can set that small battlefield stage as one of your preferred rules when you go into online battles. And then, this is a direct quote, further investigations and adjustments to online mode are expected. So I don't know. Maybe they heard the feedback or they heard things in the wake of that Melee. Remember that guy made the Melee rollback netcode, implemented that into the Arm of Dolphin that came out? Maybe Sakurai's been playing that, and he's like, we could do some work here.
He doesn't have enough time.
Why? Because he's getting ready for the release of Pikmin 3 Deluxe on October 30th, coming to Nintendo Switch. This includes all DLC and adds some new side story missions. Matt, this is, I think, arguably my favorite Wii U game outside of Super Mario Maker. I think. This Pikmin 3 is a damn fine video game. So I'm excited for people to get to play it on Switch.
Now, this is when I asked, do I need Pikmin 1 and 2?
No, I don't, because you don't. Pikmin 1 was Pikmin 1, right? Like, the idea was that you had 30 days to get all of your ship's parts from scattered around the world, and put your ship back together so you can escape the land. Pikmin 2 added some new Pikmin types, but really didn't do a ton to change what that game was. Pikmin 2... Remember how, like, Patapon 2 was really Patapon 1.5, but, like, really good? Pikmin 2 was not that. It was Pikmin 1.5, but, like, it didn't do the thing where it became the definitive version that you should have played instead of Patapon 1, the way the Patapon 2 did. It just became Pikmin 2. Pikmin 3 actually goes back to a lot of the ideas from 1. It feels like, the freshness of what 1 brought, but I think it adds so much more. There's 3 playable characters, which adds a lot of challenge to how you're playing the game, because you're not constantly, you get there over time, but you get to a point where you're managing 3 different characters, so you're moving them across different parts of the map independently. You're managing, I think, 5 Pikmin types, including flying Pikmin, which are new to this game. There's just a lot of gameplay variety that happens, and I think the way the world design is constructed, it allows you to be creative with how you solve each problem. I think the way that the progression of the game happens, like as you're learning new mechanics, like it's all done very naturally in a way that you're always kind of given enough challenge to push you further, but not make it seem too easy also. And that game is just, it is the boss fight. Like there's strategy involved, but like really it's just boss fight. It's really good. I think the thing, like, I used to stare at Miiverse, not Miiverse, but like you would see it on Miiverse all the time. So I'm sure that when this comes out, that Twitter will be nonstop pictures of fruit, because the fruit in that game looked so good, because you got to make juice every day as you collected fruit in the world, and the juice gave you little buffs to you and the Pikmin. Or no, it didn't give you buffs. I'm sorry. Maybe it did. Maybe I don't remember. But I remember like you needed to drink juice to stay alive. Something like that. Like that was kind of your 30-day meter, was like you only had enough juice to keep you. Yeah, like that's what it was. Like before it was like your oxygen was going to run out in Pikmin 1, but this one the idea is that you're going to run out of food. So you can keep juicing stuff, but you only have so much juice because there's only so much fruit on the planet or whatever. It's good. And I think that this is the one Wii U port that won't suffer from not having the bottom, the dual screens. The first one added stylus support to the game where you could actually like play the game on there by like drawing paths and things like that. But that was well after. Like I remember playing this game mostly on just the TV or just the tablet. There was a thing where you could use both and you kind of had the map down there, but it was never like super necessary. So I think this one will translate really well to Switch. And I'm excited. I think it's going to be...
I think I'm going to pick this up.
Yeah,
I've never played Pikmin. I think
it's a good, really good video game, for sure.
And when I say I think I'm going to get this, I just created the bank goal to have it ready by October 30th. So
there you go. Yeah, I think it's important. I think it's a good one to dive into. And I don't know what else Nintendo's going to have for the rest of the year, because it's been... I mean, that was a tweet one morning. You know what I mean? Like we're back to this again. So I don't know. We also got a tweet Friday morning from Rocksteady. Tweet reads, "Target locked, #DC fandom, August 22nd, #Suicide Squad game." This is a photo of Superman with a target on its head. The target's made up of the words Suicide Squad. And this seemingly ties into those domains we heard about a few weeks back, killthejusticeleague.com or whatever it was. So this seems like the real deal, Matt. Where do you fall on this? What do you think?
Yeah.
think that if we had not known that this was basically Suicide Squad before we knew it, that this would have been shocking and a more exciting or a less exciting? Like, do you think?
No, at this point, I've had the opportunity to wrestle my feelings on them doing a Suicide Squad game, so I'm over the initial like, oh.
But so you did have that when you first heard that they were doing Suicide Squad. That was the reaction, was just like, that sucks.
Because I think of that dumb movie.
Yeah. So all right, I do too. But I went ahead. I put together a couple of storylines to check out for those who can only think of that dumb movie. Check out some of the comic books to maybe get excited about Suicide Squad. So you had the very first arc of Suicide Squad by John Ostrander was Trial by Fire. It's back in 80. Don't quote me. I don't remember. 80 something, late 80s. Back then. Recently there was Earthlings by Fire. Earthlings on Fire, but everything's about fire. Not really, but this was a more recent run during the Rebirth era, so post 2016 DC, but that run of Suicide Squad is happening. So the Suicide Squad, basically, the idea, even if you haven't seen the movie, for listeners, is that there are villains within the world of DC Comics who were locked up, not getting out anytime soon, and a special project was put together, a special task force by Amanda Waller puts together this task force. The idea is that all of them are strapped with collars that will kill them at any instant if they, disobey or try and escape or whatever. But the U.S. government is contracting them to do whatever they need them to do, period. That's the idea. It's mutually beneficial because they get to go out and do what they do best, which is be murderers and villains, but the government gets what they need because this, stuff is getting taken care of. So I don't know, man. I mean, I trust Rocksteady because I liked all the games they made. That Avengers game has soured me on it. I'm trying not to hold on to that because I don't think it's fair to what this game is potentially going to be. But
yeah,
we'll see.
I'm curious because, the Suicide Squad, like you said, they are controlled by the government, but, Kill the Justice League thing, is that just is this a marketing thing, or is this part of the story? And that could be interesting, because, are the Justice League deemed as bad guys in his universe? Or are they not trustworthy? So,
Yeah, they could definitely play with those types of ideas. I wonder if this is tied to the Arkham universe at all, because it seems like Rocksteady would probably want to tie things to that, but I'm not sure. And I wonder who the lineup is, because the Suicide Squad as a Suicide Squad has gone through some iterations through the years.
Obviously Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn.
Yeah, you gotta have that. But I mean, you're not wrong. I think Harley is in this game. I don't see a world where Harley's not in this game. She was not always part of the Suicide Squad, not until that movie. But since that movie, she's very much in Suicide Squad. So, yeah, I think Deathstroke is a shoo-in.
Be cool to get that boss battle again.
Yeah. Yeah, do it the other way around from this side of the table. I wonder what this game is. That's the thing I'm
I don't
curious
know
about is this Arkham but bigger? Is this something that grows and evolves Crystal Dynamics is claiming with Avengers? Is this a thing where I pick a character at the beginning and that's who I stick with? Is this a thing where I play 2 chapters as Deathstroke, now it's my Harley time, now I'm playing as Black Manta? That's the stuff I'm curious to see how it all shakes out.
I mean, it's gotta be a co-op game, right? You just don't. I feel like you're missing a huge opportunity here. Squad.
Yeah. That it's right there. Yeah, and they had toyed with some multiplayer ideas. Not them, but Arkham Origins did, and yeah, we'll see. That's all coming with Fandom at the end of the month. August, was that 2 weeks out? Roughly, or just under?
Something like
at this
that,
point.
Yeah.
They're that fandom thing seems like they've got a lot going on. I think we'll see the first look at the Batman. We'll see the new Suicide Squad movie, probably. Some TV stuff, some comic stuff. There's a blog post on DC Comics that seems like maybe something Injustice is coming along as well. I don't know. I'm intrigued because that's been my first love before any of this stuff was just, first Batman, but then, I grew to really understand and appreciate DC Comics as, I don't know, some weird personal religion or something. So all of this across the board is exciting to me. I wouldn't, if you had asked me, and you did, and I asked myself over and over again what I wanted, and it was always a Green Lantern game. But, hey, maybe we'll get to play as Sinestro. Maybe he becomes part of the Suicide Squad. I doubt it. That seems like a weird thing, but who knows? Speaking of weird things, Matt, I got into MX Unleashed this week. We'll close out the episode on this guy here. I was itching for some early Xbox stuff, like early 2000s, just like give me that
game
weird
fuel.
Raw. Yeah, I was feeling the game fuel in my veins, like having that back pumping in me. It was just like, I just need some dumb video games. And I was poking through it, what is available on Xbox One, backwards compatibility for Xbox. And I'm like, looking at things. And then I was like, what is MX Unleashed? And sure enough, it's free for gold this month. So I was like, ooh, that's perfect. Installed it, jumped into it. It is early 2000s extreme sports video game. It's got everything you want in an early 2000s extreme sports video game. It feels good to play. Generally, it's just a dirt bike game.
Yeah.
You're racing around on 5-lap races, but the dirt bike feel is good. It feels good to fly through the air. It feels good to land. Feels good to turn. It's just arcadey little racer. It's got a terrible, awful, good soundtrack that, like, when I started looking up some of the songs, it was like, you might recognize this from NHL Hits 2002. And I was like, yeah, I do. Of course I do. It's like that era of just like butt rock, like everything sounds the same. Everything sounds like Puddle of Mud, but also if it didn't sound like Puddle of Mud, it sounded like Blink-182. Just, it's top notch in my opinion. It inspired a new playlist I'm starting to slowly build. Like I am in it. Like the second I heard Downfall by Trust Company, I was like, all right, we're in good company here. Which brings me to my question of the week that I posed to you, Matt. This came up when we were playing Halo, but which game to you is the most puberty of video games? That era of video games where it's just like, boy, we were going through some rough stuff here.
So I have two answers here, and I had a feeling where you put this in the notes, we were going to go one way with this. But my first initial thought was puberty, awkwardness, and controls. We don't know. Things are growing. We don't know what the hell is growing. We don't know if we like it or not. So my first instinct said Alien Resurrection for PlayStation 1 because it's the first game that uses twin analog sticks for first person.
Oh, wow.
I never played it.
What does that feel like?
I never played it, but yeah. That was the one that did it, and it caused some controversy because people didn't like it because of the control scheme. But now it's the one we use for every single first and third person video game.
Do you know who developed that off the top of your head?
No, I didn't. I just did the research in the end.
No, that's a wild. Yeah, I mean that does, I think, from the non-dumbass version of the word, most puberty, or the phrase puberty of video games. I think that's a really good example. The weird, awkward growing pains. You don't really know how to move in your own body or what you are. I think that fits a lot.
And then my second answer is the one that aligns more with what you're looking for, and I said BMX XXX.
There it is. Yeah, that's along the lines. That's the kind of dirt I was looking for down at the bottom there. Yeah, I've been just thinking about a bunch of those lately. I saw a video about outlaw golf, I think is what it was called, which I didn't know existed until this week. But you're just playing as like stupid 2003 cliched characters that should be in the background of like that Jamie Kennedy movie. Just bad, dumb, awkward. Clothes are way too big. Music way too sucks. Everyone sucks. Everyone's got a piercing and frosted tips, and they're way too pale and also too red. Everything, it's just all. Oof. And I can't think of an example. Like I think a lot of those like extreme sports video games were a lot of those. BMX XXX is definitely on that list. Even stuff like, I don't know, we talked about Manhunt earlier, talking about the Hitman VR stuff, but like even something like Manhunt is kind of shades of that. Like, yeah, it's not that same like gross butt rock, whatever, like, but you are very much like that like angst of like putting a plastic bag over somebody's head. Like, look how edgy we are. Like that is definitely puberty of video games. I think I played that one that Ben recommended, that horror video game that was like the Until Dawn predecessor. I can't remember the name of it now, but it had the soundtrack was there. It was like early 2000s. I think Obscure, I think is what it was called, because it's a really hard game to look up if you type in obscure video game. Yeah. It's a survival horror game that feels like you're playing a 2004 high school movie. You know what I mean?
I also feel like, I mean, if you want to look at more of the critical part of it, like Grand Theft Auto 3, I think is because you can play that the puberty way, or you can play that for the masterpiece that it is, and you know how it actually plays. But there's something to like the timing of that game, the era it came out in, the age that we were at, even though we're a couple years apart, it was still like in that time period. Yeah, like I think that is like probably the masterpiece of like the most puberty video game, or puberty of video games. Like I don't know, like how is it described? But like, yeah, I think that's a fair.
Yeah, a good turning point that got things to where they are now, right? Yeah. Like you had to go through that. Maybe it wasn't the prettiest, but it definitely like needed to happen. If you listeners want to submit your most puberty of video games, you can do so at podcast@thefreecheese.com. You can also ask us questions, make suggestions, give us feedback, whatever floats your boat. Shoot us an email there, and you'll make it on the air. You can follow us on Twitter. Matt, nope, not Matt. First, the Free Cheese is at Some Free Cheese. Matt is at MattyIce131. I'm at The Free Cheese. TheFreeCheese.com is the website you can go to look at all this stuff, see all of our stuff that we've done over the last 7 years on that site, 8 years as a podcast. That's all I got, Matt. What are you up to this week?
Dropping into Verdansk. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Well, we got to finish Reach Up too, so you'll get that. Maybe we'll dip our toes into 5 a little bit. I'm really excited for 5. I think I'm going to keep exploring the weird world of the early 2000s and see what that has to offer. I've been hovering over the buy button for Blood Rain 2. Just okay, here we go. Yeah. Let's get real.
That's another one where look how edgy we are as a sexy female vampire. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I just want to play weird, bad, not even bad. Like, there were probably good games back then. I don't know. You know, by today's standards, they may be bad, but back then, I don't know. I'm excited to get weird with it. It's like in one of those adventure movies, like where like, yeah, I thought about that one. That is.
Well, I didn't think about that in context. Thinking about the puberty question, Conquer, duh.
Yeah, that's kind of the perfect example, isn't it? Like the ultimate, like if that came out today, I would be like, God, kids are dumb. But back then, man, that was the funniest thing ever. The poop monster and the sunflower with the big boobs, and
and the fact it came out N64, like it just made it weird.
Yeah. And the fact that it was supposed to not be that game at all. It was supposed to be like just a happy-go-lucky, like Banjo-Kazooie style platformer. I think that's a good example. But something about it, getting the Duke buying that controller, something inside of me changed. I've felt a relic from a time unknown to me until now, and now that I've felt it, I can't escape. So
I gotta figure out a way to play those old wrestling games.
There's ways. We'll talk.
Thinking more, maybe legitimate, but yeah.
There are legitimate ways to do it too. Yeah. Well, that is it for us this week. That's all I got. That's all we got. We'll see you next week. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, listener, for listening. Until next time. Bye.